Loud.
Oh boy.
All right. So I will start the meeting out as staff, walk us through the first few items until we can elect committee officers, unless there are um, any comments otherwise from members. Okay, I'll take that as agreement.
Go for
Um,
it.
are there any adjustments to the agenda? No, I hear none. We have no members of the public present. So
Hallelujah.
first item will be to elect a chair and vice chair. Staff will maintain all administrative duties related to this committee, pulling agendas together, etc., but someone to chair meetings and keep discourse civil with this group.
Christian,
Yeah.
can I address Royal?
Yeah.
You
Yes, go ahead.
indicated that you're a professor of ethics.
Was.
Yeah. Would you be willing to chair this?
I'd rather not.
Somebody has to.
I'll nominate Jerry.
I second that.
That was quick.
Yeah, we seconded. Do we have
Yeah.
to vote on it or just realize that it will be Jerry?
Mhm.
Are there any other nominations?
Oh, we can nominate other people,
Oh,
Alice.
yeah.
I'll accept the nomination.
All right. Are there any other nominations
Hmm.
for chair? All right. Well, then, what's the terminology? Instruct the clerk to cast one ballot on behalf of Jerry D'Amico
Sounds
as
good.
chair
Hmm.
of the ad hoc committee.
Hmm.
Nominated Jerry. Okay.
Hmm.
Would be someone willing to be Jerry's backstop when he can't make it?
Oh, I could be Jerry's backstop.
We have one volunteer.
Mhm.
Do we have a nomination?
In that case, I will nominate Alice.
Mhm. Oh, I thought she already did.
She volunteered.
That's not
Volunteer.
that you can do that.
Now
I
we don't-
haven't learned my lesson yet.
Yeah.
Are there any further nominations? All right, well then I will instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Alice Peel as vice chair to the ad hoc committee. With that, I will turn the reins over to Jerry.
Thank you. Now I got to find the agenda. I thought I had it here.
I can pull it up if you want me to too.
Yeah.
So the agenda is really that from here on out, we have just the two items, information review. So we submitted some materials for you all to review. Some other materials I think were shared around as well. I think if to these ends, if you can give staff a direction, sort of the general format you're interested, I can start pulling together rough drafts, and it might be easiest to iterate on those drafts to really fill out the content as a next step.
Okay. Had everyone seen and had a chance to review the information that was forwarded? There were code of conduct policy, sample from
Yeah, do you want me to walk through it,
at
starting
the
with the
end,
League of
yeah,
Cities
the
and
end,
Cities?
the end, then that NRPC Code of Conduct adopted, public comment procedure from Deerfield, Massachusetts, public participation policy from Deerfield, in the Vermont League of Cities and Town Model Rules of Procedure for public meetings.
Along those lines, I think a first question staff would have for the committee is high level. Should we have two policies, one for code of conduct and one for public participation, or would we like to merge those into one policy?
This is Peter. I would say definitely two policies.
Two
Yeah.
policies.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right.
Mhm.
Elroy voted yes.
Yeah.
Go. My question is, on these two documents, who are they aimed? Hey, stop. Hang on one second. I'll be back.
Okay.
Got to beat that poor
Yeah,
dog
that's
to death.
No, I'm trying to get my husband to take them. The question is, who are they aimed at? The is well, maybe I'm answering my own question.
Yeah.
Now that we're having two documents. One is really for code of conduct for members of the public that would come in and want to comment.
I would say code of conduct should address the three participants, groups of participants, public, staff, and committee members, committee or commission members.
Okay. And are they aimed at also how the chair, vice chair should understand how to conduct the meeting?
They,
Public
sorry,
more than any.
say that again, Royal. I think I cut you
What,
off.
what was that,
I think that's more
Royal?
the participation policy. It instructs both participants from the public how to behave when presenting to the committee or commission, and also the chair or the presiding officer on how to deal with issues that rise that are defined within that policy.
Okay.
One of the things I've want to establish as a regular occurrence is a regular early fall training for all committee chairs on Robert's rules, focusing on chairing a meeting. That could be the kind of thing we include in our, well, I guess it wouldn't necessarily, maybe a code of conduct policy potentially, that the RPC will hold a regular training for committee chairs.
I think you're correct with that. I'm I'm chairing now a local Waitsfield Town Committee nonprofit. And the people that came on were very unfamiliar with Robert's rules. Unfamiliar, we had the first chair was absolutely unfamiliar with what the duties of the president/chair should be. And if it isn't clear and the whole committee doesn't understand it, you can't just kind of freelance it. It became a real issue with the president that thought he could make unilateral decisions and spend money without going to the full board. And it really took myself and another person really coming down, like tamping that down very quickly. And what we did immediately was a rewrite of the bylaws, which we got everybody to agree to, because the old bylaws were really out of date in a number of areas. And we immediately went, at least in the bylaws, added a code of conduct of behavior, because we were having an immediate problem with that. So we had to turn this from chaos to making sure that people understood what their roles are and what the roles of each officer of the board of directors was, and to become more familiar with Robert's rules, to the point where myself or the other person that knew actually guided the chair through the meeting on Robert's rules. Like,
Christian, do you have a copy in the office of Robert's rules?
A little,
I
Yeah.
would say yes.
keep it right on my desk.
I think we should have that right at the table, just
I think
in case there is a need to.
So I agree. And there are also summary materials that we could
Yeah.
have at the table that are a little more accessible than my unabridged one, which I'll usually dig into
Mm.
more when I'm trying to figure out, all right, how do you go through a nomination process? How do you go through a more complicated
In
maneuver?
general, it's pretty obvious, and we generally follow it. And I mean, and I get that, there are certain times when you have to comply directly, or correctly. But there are most of the time we can, you know, while they're good rules, slight variations aren't going to affect anything.
Right.
You know,
So,
my
oh, go
experience,
ahead, Royal. Sorry.
no problem. In my
Yeah.
experience, 40 years in government, conducting all sorts of meetings and hearings. And I've also worked extensively over the years with a variety of nonprofits, particularly in public hearings and for nonprofit organizations where a lot of members don't understand Robert's rules. A 3-minute summary to start off a meeting is pretty useful, I have found. But something else that has always been really beneficial in my experience is to have someone designated as a parliamentarian who doesn't understand Robert's rules and can be questioned at any time during the meeting about proper procedure.
Yeah, which is sort of what we were doing for this meeting. Yeah, that works.
I definitely see that as being a positive for the full board meeting. I'm not so sure when we get into, okay, like this is a 5-person committee. We've got a few others with even less. Uh, I'm not sure there, but I do agree that we should have the training for chairs and vice chairs on Robert's rules. Because we run into, actually today we ran into a little bit of a situation in the Brownsfield committee. The chair allowed public comment on each agenda item. And staff was not sure that was the right way to go. Let's put it that way. So as long as we get the rules set and set up, I think we'll be fine. But until that time, really, a 3 or 4 page missive, if we will, to all board members on the real basics of Roberts would be good. And then I totally agree with some more training for the chair and vice chair of committees and the board. Thank you.
As long as Bob Wernick shows up, he's pretty good at it. He's kept us
He is, yeah.
honest quite a few times. Yeah, go ahead, Christian.
So, just to direct our conversation a little bit, and this is not a have to, but it's a recommendation. Would it be helpful to, say, look at Northwest Regional Planning Commission's Code of Conduct, which they recently went through and adopted?
Mhm.
And we can just sort of mark it up a
Yeah.
little bit, talk about
Mhm.
things that we either like the spirit of them,
Yeah.
or don't like. And that might give me a little guidance. You can also overlap it with the much more streamlined, sorry, I'm just looking to share my screen, the much more streamlined League of Cities and Towns. What do? They have a pledge, which is a much shorter version and is just for members of the commission, just to the League of Cities and Towns is really just to remind everybody to assume the best and you're
Christian, are
respectful.
they the only commission that has this?
There may be others that have done it have one, but they've done theirs very recently.
Okay.
So it's the one I pulled.
This is the latest one we have. Okay.
And we share so much, I'd expect that this would
Yeah.
reflect other regions' work as well. Bigger. So starts with obviously laying out the purpose, promoting constructive civil engagement, welcome, inclusive workplace. Now, I think in their case, they may have run into some issues among their commissioners where they needed to go through this exercise to get everyone on the same page. I don't think we've hit that point. But theirs may, as a result, be a little more prescriptive or potentially proscriptive in its stance. So they start with a purpose. I think we could, as a group, probably pull together something that would certainly be similar in intent to what they've included here. The idea is, I think we all agree, is a purposeful or is a civil and open meeting. General conduct. This might be a little more optional. Act honestly, conscientiously, reasonably, good faith, refrain from communicating or acting disrespectfully, comply with all comply with all applicable local, state, and federal government laws, rules, and regulations, open meeting law, etc. So general conduct, high level. Conduct and carrying out duties of the board. I'm looking at this language as you are, and I see some of it is very similar to other policies in other communities.
So this is all how all the members of the committee should conduct themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this particular document.
And some of this is reflected in our existing documents. I'll have to see where. But I could probably scrape some existing language, start compiling
What
it.
do we have right now, Christian?
Right now, I
We
think
don't have a code of conduct per se, but we do have
we have our
we have a conflict of interest policy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Are there any others that for commission members?
The other thing for commission members is really the welcome packet.
Mm-hmm.
We have a commissioner handbook. So yeah, my feeling is the commissioner. I should pull this out. Apologies for not getting this earlier. I think I knew we had it. I have it open. I'm just seeing what it has. It really is. We do have a section on participating responsibly for our commissioners. I will share this with everybody following the meetings. Oh, yes, we have we really just have we have a code of conduct, but it's mostly a conflict of interest policy.
Yeah, which I found a little difficult when I was trying to make a decision.
All right, so next task for staff is to do a better job compiling what we already have rather than I kind of pulled from the existing materials we've been collecting over several months, but didn't take the time to circle back on what we have internally. So I will share out Commissioner Handbook. And I see Lee's got his hand up. Commissioner Handbook and the welcome packet.
I'm trying to read stuff, so I'm go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, this document that we're looking at now, I'll say it mixes up what are almost regulatory requirements and good behavior in it. I think you really need to separate those out and to have, if we're going to have the two different documents, have one that just focuses on what is required by law to do. And the model rules of procedure for municipal public bodies that you had sent around, there's a lot of that in there that I think we should just go through some of that and see what is really required by statute or Robert's rules or whatever. And then the other things like the more or less go into what your behavior, like being respectful, that sort of stuff. That I don't think that should be in the same document. I think we should separate those out and say, okay, here's what you have to do. Here's what we'd like you to do to make the meetings more friendly and everything else like that. But to put them together, I think becomes a little overwhelming in there as to what we
Yeah.
have to do and what we don't have to do.
Right. And we shouldn't have too, well, we've already got the commissioner's handbook, conflict of interest policy, and procedures, rules of procedures for every committee that we have. But there's no reason to duplicate. If we're going to have a code of conduct, it should just reflect the code of conduct. Yeah, and should not duplicate what's in any of these other documents. That my feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's not make this too complicated. Let's make this have a straightforward, what's the purpose? The purpose is to develop a code of conduct for all meetings for the public, for the staff, and for the commissioners, and to be for meetings and in general. Yeah. Royal, can I get you to?
I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not looking for a pat on the back. I'm just looking for anything else that we might have missed or what we should be doing. So,
No, I think that's an appropriate approach.
yeah.
I think you're right, Jerry. Keep it
Mm.
simple. I went through a number of these documents,
Mm.
especially, which was the town,
Your
Do you
fuel.
feel mass?
Mhm.
yeah, that had all the rules for, somebody coming up to make a public comment.
Yeah.
I thought that was way,
Mm.
it just seemed way complicated to try and to convey or explain
Mm.
the public coming up to comment. I mean, it was really very complicated and restrictive. And I can read this document too, and I can guess or speculate on what problems they were trying to solve. Um, and I encourage us to do that. Are we trying to solve some problems here that we're seeing in committee meetings? Yeah, I've seen a few. But what we did in this very simple nonprofit was we came up with bylaws and we put a code of conduct in the bylaw. We specifically did that. The little group that put this all together, we did that because we had a problem.
Mm.
So we put it there. But what we talked about was not complicating the bylaws. They just go boom, 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 boom. And then there's also, you could call rules of procedure. And you can just take, there's a couple of things I see in this document we just looked at that that really don't even need to be addressed in code of conduct. They're more of a procedural, just what you need to do to get your job done or to get whatever job it is you need to get done. So,
I'm glad you read this stuff thoroughly, because I'll be honest, I just scanned through it and picked out
yeah.
what the gist of it is. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I see two things here. One, and I totally agree with you, to set forth the regulatory things such as open meeting law, such as uh, what am I trying to say here? Per the non, oh well, but also I would like to see something with listing the civility, uh, if you will, requirements or whatever suggestions. Uh, and that's where we get into, uh, being civil with each other,
Mm.
not argumentative, not belittling other members of the committee or the commission. That type of thing also, I think, is part of the code of conduct,
Mhm.
in addition to the regulatory things that we have to do. Thoughts?
Yeah. I was
No,
saying, Christian, have we had an issue where staff or commissioners have belittled others in public?
I think
I'm gonna say we've been pretty lucky or
we've been
or
we've been
very civil.
we've
The
been
only one
fairly
I've
civil.
seen, and I think the reason for this is the public hearing on Montpelier's plan, correct? I mean, that's
Yep.
the reason we're going to adopt this. We have to have a reason for doing this, and if it's, and I assume that's what we're looking at. Because I have, in the 8 or 10 years I've been on the commission recently, that I have not seen an issue where anyone was actually belittled. We've certainly had differences of opinion, but I never heard anyone belittling somebody else for an idea or a
No,
comment.
I think you hit it on the head, Jerry. I think in the Montpelier review process, we got close to the edge. I think certainly staff's motives might have been questioned a little bit,
Mm,
and I also saw um, conflict between more so between staff and commissioners more so than I'd seen at any other meeting. So that's sort of where I started thinking about this. The second piece, which I think really triggered it from just maintaining our office as the happy little shire that it is, was following that meeting, you had a member of the public use some
mm,
choice language toward anyone left in the room, which happened to be commissioners and staff.
mm,
mhm,
Um, and I've reached out to League of Cities and Towns about this, and really insulting a a public member of the public is a protected right, basically, unless it's what's called fighting words, which in their very existence are so inflammatory they can be likened to throwing a match and a bucket of gasoline, I think is the language the Supreme Court has used.
mm.
So we have very little we can do to reprimand anyone in the moment who might be uh, at least a member of the public who might be belittling. So I think we can set the tone on how participation takes place. And I think especially if we remind ourselves of it every meeting, at least at the full board of commissioners, and even more so on meetings where we might be also be having hearings. I would like to think that if it was fresh in people's minds, it would be more likely to be followed.
Yeah. Well, in the 30 years I've been involved with the Regional Planning Commission, and this isn't my first time, Ariel. I've been on it several times in the past. There's only been two issues that were controversial at all. I mean, so we don't generally get involved in controversial issues, but there are obviously a few times when it does happen, and I think the Montpelier City Plan was the latest. So if we have one every 15 years on an average,
Well, Montpelier's got to rewrite their
we
plan
just
in
need
eight
to be
years, so
prepared for it. Go ahead.
we only have 8 years on the current Montpelier plan. So
Yeah, but I'm looking at the average. I've had two in 30 years. So
okay, okay.
mhm.
if it's even one every 8 years, at least we'll be prepared for the next one. And yeah, go ahead, Alice.
Yeah, but when we talk about behavior and language and crossing a line into defamation and insightful type of language, we also don't want to stifle um,
Yeah.
expressions and opinions. I mean, when you get into an issue that would come up that has controversy, I mean, there are people that are going to be passionate about their views. And you have to understand that there's a way that people will speak to that is emphatic, emotional at times, passionate, frustrated about people listening to them. But it's not something you would cut off. Um, there's a line that gets crossed. Now, we could define that, but what also can be done is you can put in a code of conduct, specifically address a behavior. Like our bylaws were definitely addressing one person and their behavior. And, you could recognize that. But in explaining and talking about the bylaws to the whole group of the board of directors, we made it very clear that this applied to all, not just one person. So don't get complacent thinking that, oh, we fixed this. So we're going to shut this person up and have them stop rolling their eyes and shrugging and gasping. No, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll get them to stop doing that. But don't think you might not do it and get caught too. So, you know, when you come up with something that's going to talk about the way people behave in a meeting, um, it's going to apply to all. And I think that has to be made clear in the code of conduct. Like this isn't directed at just staff. This isn't just directed at the public. This isn't just directed at committee members. This is all. And we recognize and encourage controversial discussion. What we won't tolerate is a takeover of the Capitol building, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, even the impeachments won't stop that.
Right,
Go
right.
go ahead, Peter.
And I've seen mistakes, general mistakes made
Mm.
that need to be corrected in a meeting.
Mm.
I've seen a staff member start running the meeting, and that's not how that works. The chairperson is in charge of running the meeting. You can,
Did you hear that, Christian?
I asked
No, I'm just,
permission. I asked permission.
don't worry. You'll be
Yeah.
chastised when
yeah,
when
you
appropriate.
address that to the chair and ask him to resolve the issue that's happening.
I
Mhm.
don't think we've had a problem. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I guess my situation is, and we'll use the Montpelier City Plan and its affiliated problems. We have a particular member of the public, and we all know who it is, that constantly interjects, makes snide comments, attacks staff. As chair of the commission, I can't allow that.
Yeah.
But I need the guidance to know where I can say no, shut up, or get out,
Yeah.
or hold it down. However we want to do it, but I need that guidance.
Oops. That was me raising my hand, not clapping. But it's a good point.
Christian, you can feel free to jump in.
Okay. So one thing I was thinking of. So what I'm hearing, one, is that we're kind of talking about, say, three different things, some of which I believe we already have rules to cover. Rules of conduct, this is the civility piece. Rules of procedure, which maybe we need to strengthen anything we already have in the books. So I will identify where we've already addressed this, and we can talk then about how we improve this. For example, one area in our conversations among staff dealing with said member of public is there's a big difference when the chair is in the room versus when the chair is virtual. So making a potential recommendation that meetings are either 100% virtual, where everybody's on equal footing, or the chair, whoever is chairing the meeting, will be in person. Now, that could be the vice chair of the committee, but it would be up to the committee to decide how they want to handle that responsibility. Because the hybrid meeting also opens itself up to some of these conflicts. And then the third piece was really, I think, what we called legal requirements. So now we're talking conflict of interest and open meeting law, for example. So does that sound like I'm circling around what you guys are talking about?
I totally agree, separating the regulatory and the participatory. I guess that's the best way of putting it. We know, and for the conflict of interest for Vermont open meeting law and Robert's rules type of thing, which we have established as our guidepost, that we should be in one document, if you will, or one part of a document. And then the participatory part of it, they're in the code of conduct when you're participating in a meeting, whether that's a staff member, whether it's a commissioner, whether it's a member of the public. And those guidelines have to be very, very definitive. Other than that, if they're suggestions, it's just not going to work because when people get impassioned, whether it be staff, commissioner, or member of the public, suggestions don't always work.
Yeah, and if I can add 2 points, Christian, going back to what you said about the possibility of having everybody on the same footing by having totally virtual meetings. We actually had this conversation at my town planning commission meeting on Tuesday of this week, where we felt that in doing that, we'll be closing out certain members of the public who may not have online access. In fact, one of my own commission members here in town does not have a computer. And so as chair of that, I have to physically or through a telephone call let him know about things that he would otherwise get through electronic means. So I think we have to be very cautious about how we structure accessibility into the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
The other point I want to make,
Mm-hmm.
Peter, going back to something you were talking about, and I actually can dig into this and offer some of the language that I used to use in conducting public hearings, where at the start of the public hearing, which I chair generally in my age, I had like a 3-minute prelude to everyone who was there, and I could have anybody from 0 participants to 300 participants, depending on the issue. 3 minutes explaining the rules of public participation. You give a person, and it's actually in one of the documents that was sent to us for this meeting. Basically, you define that there's a time limit, that there's an order of presentation, and that everybody has to have a say before somebody can, again, come back and say something additional. And it minimizes repetition because we've heard it before. And it's then up to the chair to enforce the rules as has been stated. But they've been clearly stated that you have so much time, and it's only this portion of the meeting where you have the ability to participate because you're not a member of this body. You're a member of the public who's presenting to it. And I've found that in my experience is very useful.
Yeah.
Okay. Quick question, and Royal, maybe you will be able to help us on this. Okay, tonight's meeting is about the Montpelier City Plan. It's one of the items on the agenda. When we start the meeting, we always allow public participation on items not on the agenda.
I don't think you need to specify what people can participate in. I mean, if it's something that is under the purview of the commission, then they have the right to make their expression known, whether it's on the agenda or not. But they have 2 or 3 minutes or whatever it is to make their case and then shut up and give somebody else a turn. Or, even if nobody else is there, we've heard what you have to say. If you're there, you can't summarize it in 2 or 3 minutes, then not my problem.
Wait.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, at select board meetings, there were definitely, sometimes there's issues that people want to speak to, but then there's also their own issues that they're bringing to the select board that they want the select board to consider. So public comment can get mixed.
Mm.
And I think that's okay, actually.
Yeah, I actually agree with that because that may be the only opportunity
Right.
if somebody has an issue regional planning wise, that's where we'd like to hear that.
Mhm.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a good place for the commission to hear it. The staff may hear it, through phone calls or an email, but we may not have heard that. So, yeah, go ahead, Christian.
Two things. One, to address Peter's thing. I think we added that for items not on the agenda during the Montpelier process. I just checked the agenda that went out today, and we still have that language on there. And I think that is, as long as that language for items not on the agenda is in there, we really have to let the public speak on each agenda item then, right? Because they have to be able to speak, as Royal said, to any item. And then the second piece is, and maybe this is something that can be addressed in our code of conduct or our code of procedure. But for staff, really, we do get approached. We do get mailings from emails from members of the public. And my response has been, thank you for reaching out. Please feel invited. I encourage you to come to our next commission meeting to share your thoughts with the full board of commissioners. I don't go turn around and just forward everything that I get sent onto the full board of commissioners. So I guess that's maybe part of the questions that come up, like as we maintain a public accessible face. What does that mean for public comments, and what form do public comments get delivered? In what form do public comments get delivered?
Yeah. And that's outside the purview of the code of conduct.
You think so? Okay.
I think it is.
All right. Well, then I'll keep doing what I do until someone tells me otherwise.
I mean, that's my opinion. I don't see that why we would be. That's more or less procedure of how you handle
Yeah.
your correspondence. And I would assume you'd take anything you thought was important to us. But in the same token, I would say if the public wanted the commission to hear it, they should bring it to the commission meeting.
Right.
And they should be allowed to speak on that, but within their limit 2 or 3 minutes or 2.23 seconds that we allow them. Any other comments or ideas of what we should be doing? Let's look at our number one, a schedule,
Mhm.
and number two, do we want to go how do we want to go piece by piece, code of conduct,
Yep.
policy, procedure?
So, yeah, how many meetings just guessing, we don't have to hold ourselves to this, do we think we would need to go through roughly, it sounds like two to 2.5 documents that we're trying to produce. Each one being 2 to 3 pages at longest.
I would hope they're not any longer than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking
I was-
somewhere between 3 and 5 meetings, at least for a starting point.
Sounds appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have said 6 months off the top of my head, but
That's probably 3 to 5 meetings if you're
Yeah.
meeting once a month.
Yeah.
Does anybody think we have a problem we have to solve?
I think it's just a matter of clarification of how procedure should take, both internally with code of conduct and externally with a public participation policy.
Um,
where'd Lee go?
He dropped off somewhere. He's not in the waiting room, so he must have turned the internet off in Orange.
aliens.
We only gave him 3 minutes, so
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I think in one of the documents, I'm not, probably maybe rules and procedures, but I think the roles and the duties of the chair and vice chair
Mm.
need to be defined. And we need to decide if the chair or vice chair can have some discretion. Like, for example, I've seen it and I've seen frustration. Um, if you hold someone to 2 minutes in a public comment, um, they really could have used 4 minutes. So I think the chair should have some discretion on if they let that person continue on and then just end it at an appropriate point.
I think you have to be careful there because if you're going to give somebody 6 minutes, you're going to have to give the next person 6 minutes. And what
And,
I would,
and
as the chair of any committee meeting, I would say if you have something to say, put it in writing and forward it to the committee. If give us your 2 minute summary and put any other comments in writing, and we will read it and address it at the next meeting.
Right. Something again that was in my public hearing statement at the beginning of the hearings was that staff at the hearings would answer factual questions, but we would not engage in a debate on the issue.
Mm-hmm.
hallelujah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I've put that into our hearings, the packet guidance for the chair on every whenever we have a hearing. Sort of
What
what
was
you
that
did.
again, Royal?
The staff would answer factual questions, but would not engage in a debate on the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The other problem, Alice, with what you were speaking of, uh, Bill Smith comes to the meeting, speaks his 2 minutes. Mary Jones wants more. Do we go back and tell Bill Smith he can talk for the other 4 minutes as well? Uh, you know,
Mm,
Well, someone has an opportunity to have a second approach, but only after everybody else who's
right.
time be given that time before them.
I mean, it works I don't know how well it works in Congress, but that's the way they hold their hearings, or they limit people to a certain amount of time.
Right.
I know at our select board, uh, everyone in the room is allowed their whatever it is. I think it's 3 minutes as we have for a thing.
Hmm.
After each person has spoken, we will go around the room one more time.
Hmm.
If there's anyone who has additional new information, not just the rehash of what you said the first time around. I just, as, okay, and I'm talking about as chair of the full commission, but it's for each chair and vice chair of every committee that we have, we just need some good guidelines as to how to handle public participation. I think the code of conduct end of it, I think we can hammer that out pretty easily as far as how we expect our members to behave, if you want to call it that. But this public participation thing, where we have had some controversy in the recent months, and Jerry, I agree with you. We haven't had anything like this in the past that I remember, and I've only been around for about 10 years. But it has come to a head at this point, and yeah, we just got to learn how to deal with it.
So,
Right.
sorry.
What do we want to do for the next meeting?
Do we want to get something? So I'll jump in. I think I've got a good dose of where your thinking is, that at least I can come back and give you something to react to and see if I'm hearing you correctly. So kind of a first iteration on this. pull from some of the documents I have in here. I think Lee sent one out. I can look at. I didn't get a chance to look at that. Begin to piece those into outlines with text that we will then improve, move around, mold. As far as a date, I can do these Thursdays. It appears I'm fairly clear at the beginning of the month. The next one would be, I guess, the 8th of January. Or I could also do the 15th of January, which would be then after the Board of Commissioners meetings instead of 3 days before it. It's up to you all.
Either way works for me.
The 8th of January or the 15th.
So it's the first Thursday, or the Thursday following Executive Committee, or the Thursday following Board of Commissioners.
I think the 8th is fine.
All
Yeah,
right.
That gives us some flexibility. We get bed.
yeah. The 8th looks better for me.
Okay. All right, I'll send out a placeholder to everybody, and I hope to be sending you some draft customized CVRPC documents early
And a copy of the
2026.
Commissioner Handbook.
Yep, I'll pull together other that.
Several of us are pre-Commissioner Handbook.
Yours was done on a typewriter.
Yeah.
I
And
didn't
I
know
think
there was a committee.
hieroglyphics. Go
I
ahead,
was going to
Alice.
say mine was in stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I very honestly, I think that the next meeting we should be able to bang out the code of conduct.
Yeah.
And easily within that next meeting.
Code of conduct or goal. Okay.
That would be my suggestion.
At least we'll get a good draft.
Yeah.
And we can think about it for a month.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good to me.
Okay. Do we want to adjournment?
All right, and next meeting at 4 p.m. the 8th
Yeah.
of January.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we didn't set the time. But 6 looks like most of us here can make it at 4 p.m. We're not.
Yeah, that's good for me because later I gotta run. I
Yeah.
got kid duties later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a tad tight for me today only because my daughter's school bus was late. But
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, I wasn't the only one that was late.
Oh, that'll go in the code of conduct.
Right.
Okay, Alice, you want to take over Don's job
I
here?
was just gonna say, I'm in the great tradition of Don LaHaye. I propose adjournment.
And I'll second it.
Well, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 See,
Thank you guys
it's
for working
unanimous.
on us with us.
See you on the well, I guess we'll see you on this
Next week.
Tuesday. Next
Yeah,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. We got our board of
Yeah.
commissioners.
Okay, take care.
Thank you all.
All right,
Right.
thank you.
All right, bye.